The storm had been raging for 3 cycles now, and the calpac huddled deep within their mountain den, their thick fur doing little to ease the cold that had settled into their bones. But it wasn't the physical cold that made Vor's chest ache. It was the silence where joyful yips should have been. The cubs were gone, swept away when the avalanche tore through the lower caverns, buried beneath tons of ice and snow before any adult could reach them. The pack had dug frantically, their claws bloodied against frozen stone, but the mountain had swallowed the young ones whole. After 2 cycles of futile searching, Vor had called off the hunt. The storm was too fierce, the mountain too cruel. Now they mourned. Calth did not weep as humans did, but their howls carried the weight of loss across the peaks. Low, mournful songs that spoke of futures that would never be. Vor stood at the den's entrance, his silver-streaked muzzle pointed toward the white abyss beyond, and added his voice to the chorus. 7 cubs, 7 bright souls extinguished before they could even learn to hunt. Behind him, the pack swayed in rhythm with their grief. Alpha. The voice was soft, hesitant. Vor turned to see Mara, one of the younger hunters. The human. She's gone. Vor's ears flattened. What? Arya. She left during the last howl. She took nothing but her thermal suit and... Mara's eyes widened with disbelief. The scent markers for the cubs. For a moment, Vor couldn't process the words. The human had been with them for only a season, a xenobiologist studying their pack dynamics under the treaty provisions. She was small, fragile, without fur or claws or the bulk needed to survive these mountains, and she had walked out into a storm that even the Calth feared. How long? Vor's voice came out as a growl. 2 hours, maybe 3, impossible. No human could survive that long in this cold. Vor had seen what the mountains did to unprepared travelers, had found their frozen corpses when the thaws came. Arya knew the dangers. She had been warned repeatedly about venturing beyond the den during storm season, and yet she had gone anyway. She's searching for them, Vor said quietly, the realization settling over him like fresh snow. She's searching for the cubs. The pack fell silent. Several of the younger Calth exchanged glances, their confusion evident. Why would the human throw her life away for cubs that weren't even her species? It made no sense. The cubs were already dead, claimed by the mountain. This was the way of things. But Vor remembered something Arya had said once during a quiet evening when she'd been recording their hunting patterns. She'd been watching the cubs play, her strange flat face arranged in what he'd learned was called a smile. Humans have a saying, she'd told him in her accented Calth speech. Not on my watch. It means, we don't give up. Not while we can still do something about it. Vor had thought it was merely words then, philosophy, the kind of thing soft species told themselves to feel brave. He had been wrong. 4 more hours passed. The storm showed no signs of breaking, and the pack had returned to their mourning, though now their howls carried notes of confusion. They had lost 7 cubs. Were they now to lose the strange human as well? Vor stood vigil at the entrance, refusing to move, refusing to rest. If Arya somehow survived, she would need guidance back. And if she didn't, well, the least he could do was witness it was Mara who saw her first. Alpha. Movement. Vor's head snapped around, his eyes straining against the white void. At first he saw nothing. Then, there, a shape emerging from the blizzard, small and hunched, moving with the painful slowness of exhaustion. It was Arya, but she wasn't alone. As she drew closer, Vor's breath caught in his throat. The human was barely recognizable, her thermal suit crusted with ice, her exposed face pale and raw from frostbite, her lips blue. She should have been dead. Every law of nature said she should have collapsed hours ago, yet she walked on, and strapped to her back, bundled against her body in makeshift carriers fashioned from her own equipment, were the cubs. All 7 of them. Their small faces peeked out from the insulated wrappings, their eyes wide and frightened but alive. Alive. The pack erupted into chaos, yelps of disbelief, howls of joy, adults rushing forward. But Arya held up one trembling hand, and something in that gesture made even Vor pause. Hypothermia, she managed through chattering teeth, each word clearly painful. Get them warm now, I found them. In an air pocket. Under the old cedar root system. Had to dig, had to carry. She took 3 more steps, then her legs gave out. Vor lunged forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Up close, he could see the full extent of what she'd endured. Her hands were bleeding, fingers likely frostbitten from digging through ice. Her suit was torn in a dozen places. She was shaking so violently he could feel it through her layers. She had done the impossible. Carefully, reverently, the pack removed the cubs from her back, rushing them deeper into the den where warmth and food waited. But Vor didn't move. He held the human against his fur, sharing his body heat, and for the first time in his life he understood what the humans meant when they spoke of heroes. Arya's eyes fluttered open, unfocused. Did they? All 7? All 7, Vor confirmed, his voice thick with emotion that had no proper Kalth expression. You brought them all home. A weak smile crossed her frozen features. Not on my watch, she whispered. Then her eyes closed as unconsciousness took her. Vor lifted his head and released a howl, not of mourning this time, but of gratitude, of awe, of something that transcended species. The pack joined him, their voices rising into the storm. A song not of loss but of salvation. When the storm finally broke 3 cycles later, and Arya had recovered enough to stand, Vor did something no Kalth Alpha had ever done for an outsider. He knelt before her, pressing his muzzle to the cold stone in a gesture of ultimate respect. You are pack, he said simply. Now and always, you are pack. Behind him, every Kalth present, including 7 playful, healthy cubs, knelt as well. Arya's eyes glistened with moisture, that peculiar human response to strong emotion. She placed her still bandaged hand on Vor's head, accepting the honor. Later, when she filed her research report, she would write, The Kalth are wrong about one thing: they believe the mountain is cruel. But they've never seen what happens when someone decides that cruelty doesn't get the final word. Humans don't accept the mountain's verdict. We challenge it. And sometimes, if we're stubborn enough, we win. But in that moment, surrounded by a pack that was now truly hers, she said nothing at all. The cubs had come home. That was enough.